So I've just seen a video that, to be honest, really fucked me off. Sorry for the language, but that's how I feel. Um, it was from the UK politics page on Facebook, which is a useful page if you're interested in following UK politics. It covers a lot of things. Anyway, in a session in the Commons, the Women and Equalities Minister, Caroline Dinenage, I think that's her name's pronounced, um, presumably she's a junior minister in the department. I hadn't heard of her before. But anyway, she was addressing the issue of um, International Men's Day, November the 19th, which itself is surprising because, the very fact the government acknowledges this is surprising. But she was addressing that and she opened up with a snide comment: whilst women can be forgiven for thinking that every day is International Men's Day, we are going to mark this occasion and we are going to talk about the important issues of male suicide. Okay, on the surface, you would think, okay, well, she's doing that. Now, the MP, Philip Davies, who has a name for standing up for men's issues, interjected and said that, basically countered that and said that she doesn't take it seriously. Um, and that if she meant any of it, she was going to take it as seriously as the Prime Minister. I'm not sure what exactly he was referring to. Presumably, the Prime Minister said something, or okay. Here's the thing. I'm not going to sort of attack this minister personally too much because I don't know much about her, don't know much about her track record. She did say she's a mother of sons, so she was trying to put the human touch to that, which is better than some MPs come out with. But the facts, how she responded to it was saying that gender equality is not a zero sum game. And then she deflected by talking about issues that impact women in other parts of the world, such as genital mutilation and so on, important issues. But it's a deflection. The question and the issue was about men's rights. Women's rights is important, but it's discussed all the time. The one time that the issue of men's rights is being discussed, it's deflected by the minister supposedly in charge of this to women's issues. Now, if that isn't evidence that the department doesn't take men's issues seriously, I don't know what is. Let's start with the name, the Department for Women and Equality. Now, what feminist is going to turn around and say honestly that there would be anything contentious about the Department for Equality? Not the Department for Men's Issues, the Department for Equality. Who claims to be interested in equality would argue with that? Who's going to argue with changing this archaic department, one of Tony Blair's biggest mistakes, in my opinion, to something that is truly egalitarian? This is a real issue. That's not to say that women don't have issues with suicide and depression, so on as well. It's not to say that things are great for women, okay? That's not what guys like me are saying. What I am saying is that the way the government and large segments of the media treat men's issues as a total disgrace. They trivialize and they downplay them, and sometimes they outright laugh at them. Frankly, it's disgusting. So when feminists sort of turn their nose up at the rise of men's rights groups, is it any bloody wonder? Because men's issues are routinely ignored. The idea that we live in a patriarchy at this particular time is a complete myth. It may have been true historically, but in today's context, it is a complete myth. The most powerful politicians right now in the country are women. The leaders of, I've pointed this out before, many political parties. The head of government is a woman. The Home Secretary is a woman. Yes, they're powerful men, but this notion that we live in a patriarchy at this time is utterly absurd. Um, I'm just sick and tired of every time men's issues being discussed, feminists have to deflect it with, oh, well, what about women's issues? What about this? What about that? And they point out areas where women suffer. But the point is, those issues are already widely covered, as they should be. My issue here is not women's issues being addressed. My issue is men's issues being ignored. It's bullshit, and it is just so unfair because the minister, her opening statement just sums it up. Women can be forgiven for thinking every day is International Men's Day. Well, men can be forgiven for thinking that every day is Women's Victimhood Day, because every single day you cannot escape yet another report about how awful things are for women by some feminist lobby group pushing their divisive agenda. I am sick of it. I am sick to high heaven with this shit. As a man, I am sick and tired of my gender being scapegoated for every single problem there is. And feminists like Jess Phillips get away with things that no male MP would get away with. She routinely comes out with sexist comments about how men shouldn't be able to do certain jobs. That's outright sexism. And no feminist can claim that it isn't, because it is. It is blatantly. If a male MP said a woman shouldn't be able to do this job, you can imagine the outcry. So I'm just. This department is not about equality. They may say. Let's use this analogy. If they have 10 files, they might have one file dealing with men's issues, 9 files dealing with women's issues. I know it doesn't work like that, but I'm just making the analogy that they don't really care. The fact this minister is making a soundbite in Parliament means nothing. What I want to see is some actual evidence that they care, and I don't think they do. And I actually intend to write to the department about this. I'll be more polite than I've been in this video, but I am pissed off. And I give Philip Davies credit for raising these issues. I know there are people who don't like him because he's true blue Tory. I don't agree with him in other areas. I know he has a controversial track record in other areas. But I will say this, he has been an MP who has consistently stood up for men's issues. And, feminists can laugh at that, but, they can joke about male tears and all the rest of it. But the fact of the matter is, very few other MPs do. And I give him credit for that. But someone has to. So, you know, it, if I was Prime Minister, I would abolish this department, replace it with a department for equality. Just equality. No pandering to one gender or the other. Just equality. And it would be a department that truly addresses such issues. I would have a minister for women. I would also have a minister for men. And this idea that feminists churn out that every day is a man's day, they're deluded. They just don't see what is being discussed here. This is not Saudi Arabia. This is not a country where women suffer significant discrimination. It just isn't. Okay, so I'm going to round this up. Sorry for the language, but I am irritated. I am annoyed. I'm a little bit pissed off because it's it's just not an equilibrium in terms of how these issues are addressed. It's not. And the shameless BBC, the cowardly BBC, will not address these issues. The likes of the BBC and Channel 4 are too busy promoting a feminist agenda. And it's disgraceful that they do that. I wouldn't even care about that if they at least gave men's issues equal coverage. They don't. They don't care.